Torah time! The weekly portion. What's it all about? It really means something. What can it teach me? Turn it. Everything's in it. Hi, welcome to Torah time. I'm Rabbi Stephanie Shore. And this week's Torah portion is a double portion. It's called Vayakehl Pekudei. And so we have two Torah portions to talk about. Now, in Vayakehl, it's a retelling of all the pieces and the parts and the supplies and the materials that are needed to build the Mishkan. The Torah goes into all of it all over again. And we're introduced to two characters, Bezalel and Oholiab. And these two guys are very talented artisans that are going to ultimately build the Mishkan. Now, you would think, well, isn't the Mishkan built already? Well, this portion kind of retells the whole thing again. We'll talk about why in just a second. We're also reminded, remember the priestly garments, the robe and the breastplate and the headwear that the priests wore when they were performing ritual acts in the Mishkan. We're told about all of that again too. And so why so much dedication, pages and chapters in this book of Exodus, in this book of Shemot, dedicated to the absolute details of building the Mishkan and creating the priestly garments? I mean, why? Can you think of a reason? Well, let me give you a little hint, okay? When you're decorating your room, do you put a lot of time and thought and energy into what you're going to put where? And are you going to hang a picture, or are you going to put up some lights? I know a lot of kids put up those cool lights now. I mean, what are you going to do in your room? And do you take time to think about it? Well, yeah, we do take time to think about it because we're going to live in it. We want it to be special. So we put a lot of time and effort into that. The other thing I want to mention is, what about when you're building a friendship with somebody that you like in your class or that you met at temple? Do you put time and energy into that? Call the person, maybe make some plans to see each other. So you put forth a certain amount of effort to make sure that that friendship grows, right? Yeah. Well, I want you to hold on to that thought for just a second. Now, we are also told in Pekudei, at the end of the portion, that God is going to make God's self apparent to the people by forming a cloud above the Mishkan and kind of in the Mishkan too, a cloud during the day and fire at night, so that God's presence will not only be in the Mishkan, but in the people when they're in the Mishkan. That's a beautiful thought. Now, I want to go back to when we talked about decorating your room. The reason why the Torah spends so much time and so many words describing the absolute detail of building the Mishkan is because this is where God is going to live. Wow. Wow. I mean, that's amazing. So why wouldn't we want to spend extra time and extra effort making it so special? Now, what about this thought? Imagine that God's presence is in your room, because ultimately God's presence is everywhere. And imagine in your own life that God is dwelling not only in your room and in your house and in your world, but inside of you, protecting you by day and guarding you by night. And we need to put effort into that relationship too. We need to cultivate our relationship with God. To some, it might come very naturally, but to some, it might be more of a challenge. So, we can talk to God. We can pray using the words of our prayers, or we can talk to God with the words that we find inside of ourselves, the still, small voice. Because ultimately, our bodies are the mishkan for our soul, and our soul is linked to God. Oh, these are amazing lessons in our Torah. Every week it's like a new, exciting, and interesting idea to think about and to contemplate. Take it into your week with you and see what else you can learn from it. And remember, talk to God, because God is always there. All right, everybody. That's our Torah time for today. Thanks for stopping by. Shalom.
Torah time! The weekly portion. What's it all about? It really means something. What can it teach me? Turn it. Everything's in it.